Welcome back to the Project Podcast. I'm your host, Connor Lewis, and today we are joined by an old guest, a guest who's been on the podcast many times and is finally making his 2026 debut, Carter Jones. Carter, how are you, man?
I'm great. How are you?
Good. This is the third time I've asked you that today. We've had some technical difficulties, but we're doing good now. We're just gonna jump right in to talking about the NFL a little bit. Carter, I'm sorry I'm gonna have to make you repeat yourself about the Bears.
That's
I
fine.
know we didn't get that far, luckily, but if you want to speak on what team were you surprised by the most this NFL season, you have the floor.
I'm definitely most surprised by the Bears, and I think it's a mix of things. After last season, people weren't super high on Caleb Williams, and they were kind of unsure about him, but I think he proved a lot of people wrong this year. Along with Ben Johnson coming in as their new head coach, they just played really well under his program, and their offense looks great. Along with, they've been in a lot of close games, and, they've pulled out some wins in them in overtime and regulation. So, it's good to see, and that's promising for them and what they can do in the playoffs, maybe.
And they started off 0-2 this season, and then they have some big wins against some pretty damn good teams. Besides those losses at the start, they remain pretty consistent, like you said. Like you hit all the points on the head there. But where do you think they stand as far as the playoffs goes? I know we have a lot of playoff stuff to talk about later, but just as far as their competitiveness within these playoffs in a very, open conference that they're playing in, where do you think they stand right now?
It's tough to say, because the NFC is stacked. It's kind of like the East and the West of the NBA, kind of like where the AFC is like the East, and it's kind of a little bit weaker. But the NFC is like the West, and it's very strong. But I think overall, they're a very battle-tested team. They've been in a lot of close games, and that's like good to have that going into the playoffs, where like some teams just go in with a lot of blowout wins and they haven't really been tested, which is going to happen when you get to the postseason. So I think that's gonna, serve them well. I don't know how far that'll take them, but
Well, obviously they're going to play the Packers in the first round, which is a team they've already played before. But I think it'll be very interesting. I don't have a firm idea about where the Bears stand right now, just because we have never seen them in a being this good before. Like they were definitely a contender for my most surprised, the team I was surprised by most. But I'm going to give you mine. The team I was surprised by most this season is the Seattle Seahawks. I don't think there's any surprise to anybody, but after I saw them demolish my team in the final week of the season, 13-3, I knew they were something special. I thought going into that game previously at the beginning of the season, the Niners took care of business with Seattle, and the Seahawks basically run a train on us, and we can't get an offense going. Purdy looks nervous. Our team is, again, a little banged up in fairness, but with Kittle back for that game, I was expecting it to be pretty close, and it never really felt that close. To put into context why I'm very surprised, I'm reading right now their preseason odds for the Super Bowl were plus 6,000, which is ridiculous. Obviously, I don't know if they'll make the Super Bowl, but their over-under for wins was 8.5, which in retrospect was like, yikes. But, I mean, I don't think anyone saw Mike Macdonald happening. They have the best defense in the NFL statistically and the third best offense, and that's no surprise. Their run game is elite. They have a really great 1-2 punch with Walker and Charbonnet. And then, again, Jackson Smith was fantastic. I mean, I think he could easily be the offensive player of the year. And Sam Darnold looked competent, which is, I don't know if that says more about Sam Darnold or Mike Macdonald, but I'll let you share an opinion on the Seahawks if you have one.
I mean, yeah, just a very dominant team, and having a great defense is very good, but having a great offense right behind that is amazing too. JSN, probably the best receiver in the NFL right now, especially based off this season. There are guys like Jamar Chase and Justin Jefferson, but what he's doing right now can't go like unrecognized. He's having a great year. And the committee backfield that they have is just elite too. Both those guys, Walker and Charbonnet, like you mentioned, are great too. So I think they'll be very good in the playoffs, and they can handle the NFC pretty well.
I don't know. Again, we'll talk about playoffs when we get there, so I'm not really in a rush to talk about it right now. Just strictly regular season way. Again, I'm as surprised as anyone else was that they took off in such a way. I'm just reading their schedule right now, and some of the teams that they beat, like the Steelers, had their ups and downs, but taking care of the Steelers pretty handily by 2 scores. It's pretty impressive. The Rams, they lost to the Rams, but again, these are like close games. Like these are not like blowouts. The only real like game that looked rough was their game against the Vikings. They lost. Do I have that right? Oh no, they won against the Vikings 26-0. Like just
Yep.
reading that, and these wins are crazy. Like they're coming off, how many is this? 6 straight wins over the past 6 weeks. Like that's ridiculous. Like I'm just,
Yeah.
again, maybe and maybe it's my fault for not knowing off the top of my head, but again, like these are not easy teams. Like they took care of the Rams in OT. The Niners game was
Yeah.
crazy. Like I don't think anyone expected it to end the way it did, with the Niners absolutely getting stomped on. And I watched the full game. Like I was there for my team, and I'm like, we're gonna be competitive. We're gonna play our game, and the run went nowhere, and we couldn't get a pass game going. And the defense looked good, but it wasn't enough. And we're gonna move to the next category. Team that I was most disappointed by was the Baltimore Ravens. I'm not sure if you had this. I know we have Raven stuff later, but before I tell you anything else, I want to bring up an article. I was doing the research this is from the beginning of the season, right before week 1. The Ravens, this is a power rankings team preview, and the Ravens were projected to win at least 10 games, 10 to 11 games, and they had like biggest strength, biggest concern, how to win your fantasy, all that. Their biggest concern, based off an ESPN article from beginning of the season, was Tyler Loop. How telling was that? That they knew. This is a random ESPN article that I just happened to find. This is not me. I didn't hold on to this receipt. They predicted that Tyler Loop would make the biggest impact as a concern. And wouldn't you know it, the reason they lost their season was because of Tyler Loop himself. Any opinion on Tyler Loop? Just this whole fiasco that went down in the last week?
I mean, honestly, at this point, I just feel bad for him. Like, I'll just see TikToks of people just absolutely going at him, and I look in the comments and people just like hating on him. It's tough. Kicking is a very tough thing, but you got to make those. You got to make those if you want to be in the industry.
I don't know. I mean, this happens every time a kicker misses a big field goal. People just go at his throat for like a week and a half, and then we kind of move on as a society. Just the way of the NFL. Obviously he's a rookie, so that's tough. I mean, I don't know if he's ever had to make a kick like that. I didn't really do the research on it, but it sucks for that. But hey, I mean, you got to, again, like you said, I agree with you. You got to make those plays if you want to be an NFL kicker. I know they're missing Justin Tucker right now a lot. So it seems like nobody on the Ravens got a happy ending. Anyway,
I like that one.
Thanks. Yeah, but no, the Ravens disappoint me a lot. Blame it on Tyler Loop, but at the end of the day, he should not have been the reason that the Ravens had to miss the playoffs. Yes, that was a bad kick, but you can't blame a whole season on one player. Lamar being hurt didn't help, but Zay Flowers wasn't all he could have been, I feel like, even with having to play with some other quarterbacks. It's a lot of things, and I have a lot of Ravens stuff later, but, I'm very disappointed by them overall. And I'm going to let you tell me what team you were disappointed by the most.
Mine was the Lions. It was pretty. Yet again, I mean, not making the playoffs is like that's a thing to start with. Obviously, the NFC is tough, but you got some very skilled players in your team. 2 great receivers with Amon-Ra St. Brown and Jameson Williams, and then one of the best running backs in Jahmyr Gibbs on your team. You got to make the playoffs. And they got banged up throughout the season. But with all those threats on offense, like you got to make at least the playoffs. Wild card, you have to win your division. But going into like fantasy football, people thought Jahmyr Gibbs was gonna be like RB1, maybe best player in fantasy, but he wasn't. And along with that, a lot of the other guys didn't do great. But it's just like some games out there just is very like it shows like how bad of a season it was. Where like last year they might have pulled out those wins, but they just didn't this year. So
I mean, I don't think you're wrong. I was especially surprised all season that routinely I wouldn't hear anything about the Lions, and then eventually I came to realize that they just weren't even in the playoff picture to begin with.
Mhm.
And it's disappointing for sure. I like a lot of the guys. I have a Lions fan in my life. A good friend of mine, Thomas Nyosi, is a diehard Lions fan. He's been that way since he was a kid. His dad's a Lions fan. Last year was like heaven for him. This year is literally the eighth circle of hell. Essentially, it sucks. You have all these weapons, and like you said, Jahmyr Gibbs is the highest of highs for him. Like I was
Mhm.
expecting a lot from him. I play fantasy myself. I'm not as into it as other people. I try to keep
Yeah.
up, but I'm not very good. I got ninth place out of 12 in a 12-man league, so I'm not great. But I was a little surprised whenever I had to play Jahmyr Gibbs. It felt kind of silent. Um, but yeah, that's a honestly a very fair team. To move on to the outlook of the Chiefs over the next 5 years, I'm going to let you start with this one. The Travis Kelsey stuff. I'll ask you this: is he done? Like, is this official? Like, I don't know if we have a. I don't think I have a firm answer yet. If you want to weigh in on that.
I don't really have a full answer on that either, but I think he, I think he has to be coming off the Mahomes injury and stuff like that. We don't know his timetable, but that whole team's just a mess. Rasheed Rice, his whole situation. Don't want to get too far into that, but losing Mahomes as it is, we don't know how long he's going to be out for, but that's your guy, and they've kind of been slowly decreasing over the past years. Their playoff run last year wasn't very impressive, and they got rightfully exposed by the Eagles in the championship. But we don't know where it's going to take him. The one bright spot on their team, you have Xavier Worthy. He's good, and he's going to be a good player in the NFL. But we don't know what it's going to look like in the next 5 years. But not the same Chiefs that we saw in the previous 5 years. That's all I got to say.
Yeah, I mean, there's no doubt about that. I couldn't agree more. I think after all this buildup, after all the edits I've had to suffer through, after watching I think it was Chiefs Broncos, the last game at Arrowhead, excuse me, for Kelsey. I've had about enough. I get it. He's one of the great tight ends ever. 100%. Couldn't agree more. But I've seen too much, and if he doesn't decide to retire, I think I may be going bald already. Like I may be going bald now, and if that doesn't happen, I think I might be done. Um, this is it hasn't been a very pretty last 3 years for Kelsey. Just retire, bro. Dude, you're dating Taylor Swift. Honestly, bro, I would retire from podcasting if I was. I mean, I hate to be like I don't even listen to her music like that, but bro, she's worth like $1 billion, man. Just enjoy your podcasting. Yeah. So Xavier Worthy's the guy you build around your offense, right? Like, and with these rumors of like Matt Nagy, possibly jumping ship, which everything's a rumor until it's not, basically. But
Mm-hmm.
now more than ever, as far as doing all the research for the coaching stuff, which again didn't age very well. Um, I just saw Matt Nagy's name dropped a lot, and I mean, I don't think he's a bad offensive coordinator, but I think there's a little bit of Mahomes bias where it's like, oh, he was a coordinator for Mahomes, so he must be a great coach. But
Yeah.
we'll see. I mean, again, Xavier Worthy's the guy you build on. You pray that Mahomes is as good when he comes back as Brady was when Brady tore his ACL. That's the comparison I see a lot. I don't know if it's the same thing because Brady's was at the beginning of his season, Mahomes at the end. We'll see. I mean, there's no way to really know how this Chiefs thing is going to turn out. It's just more of a thought exercise, a thought process to just think about what do the Chiefs look like. If you had to guess, and I don't know if you're a betting man because you're also in high school, so maybe you shouldn't be. Um, Chiefs, how many Super Bowls do they make over the next 5 years, and how many Super Bowls do they win over the next 5 years? If you had to guess.
I give them they make one and they don't win that one that they make it.
Mm,
Because I think next year's not going to happen. I think
yeah.
the year after that, getting back with Mahomes is going to be more of like a kind of like a rebuilding, recouping year along with next year. And then I think in year 3 to year 5 of those 5 year gap, I think they'll get into one. I don't know. It's tough. Travis Kelsey, he's a great player. A lot of other good pieces that they've had in the past couple of years too. But I think the AFC is going to start to bulk up with more talent over that time too, so the Chiefs can't just bully everybody else.
Yeah, and it feels like the quarterbacks now are younger than ever. Like I feel like we have
Mhm.
like a dozen really good quarterbacks that could just dominate. Like just off the top of my head, I was thinking about like May, Nix, Williams. Jaden Daniels, if he figures it out with Washington, like just a couple names, guys who look really good and could
Yeah.
be, not Mahomes level, but just like really great quarterbacks. And so it's not going to be that easy. Like, you had such a perfect formula between Reed, the time they had Tyreek Hill, Travis Kelsey, Mahomes, and the rest. Now it's not that simple. Like now you have to really reset and kind of figure out where you are. And I agree with you 100%. Like next year is a wash. I'm not expecting them to even really make the playoffs if Mahomes comes back. To be honest, like there's a lot to be done with that Chiefs team. If I'm wrong, I'm wrong. I'm fine with being wrong on that because I feel like that's a pretty fair prediction to assume that next year's cooked, and then after that we see. Like Reed is an older guy, like Coach Andy Reid. He's not a young guy. I don't know how many more years he has left to coach. Now it feels like people are just coaching forever now. Like Pete Carroll, I know he's done with the Raiders, but he was 83. Like guys can just coach for as long as they want to. So I wouldn't disagree. I would say that you're probably right. I think they could make a Super Bowl. They find a way usually, but maybe the NFL kind of moves on from promoting them so much. Is kind of my thought. I want to bring this up to you. I already know what you said, unless you changed your mind. But who makes bigger moves this offseason between the Ravens and the Bengals?
Yeah, I kind of said I said the Bengals. The Ravens got to do a lot. They just got rid of Harbaugh, obviously, but I think the Bengals, like, they're always like a team that they have a couple injuries and it kind of like messes up their season, but their defense is always so bad. But I mean, they have potential to be one of the better offenses if they stay healthy. I think they just got to make a couple moves overall just to get some good guys in free agency. Both sides of the ball, obviously. Give some help to Joe Burrow with his O line. But defensively, if they can shape things up, I think they can definitely make some noise over the next couple of years. I'd say.
If you had to guess, what do you think they're focusing on more between their offense or their defense? Like if you had to take a guess, because both need a lot of work, obviously. But if you had
Yeah.
to take a swing at it,
Well, my thing is like you got like at the end of the day, you got your guys on offense. You got Joe Burrow, Jamar Chase, T. Higgins, Chase Brown too. You look at their defense, you can't really name a whole lot of guys. You got Trey Hendrickson, but I mean, how much else? How many other guys can you just be like, oh yeah, he's gonna help us out? So I think you need some more of those guys that are just surefire, like they're gonna be there and be threats.
I picked the Ravens and the Bengals specifically for this because I think we both. I don't know what your thought was, but I think we can both say that we thought they were going to make the playoffs if we were like preseason. And if you told me, you know, at the like week one that neither team was going to make it and both guys were going to miss a lot of time, I don't know if I'd believe you. Like both, I don't know.
Yeah.
I knew you picked the Bengals, so I went ahead and picked the Ravens. Although I think the Bengals have a lot to do. Just to make it more interesting, I thought I'd talk about the Ravens. Obviously, like you said, Harbaugh is gone. I wrote down some of the major candidates for this job, for the coaching job. Robert Saleh, which is obviously my team's defensive coordinator, would be a big loss for us. I love him as a defensive guy, but obviously it's been very up and down as far as the defense goes this season. Clint Kubiak, which is a Seattle OC. Yeah, I think if you want a guy to reshape this offense for the Ravens, which I think they definitely need some help on, I don't see why not. Brian Flores, Vikings defensive coordinator, Anthony Weaver, the Dolphins defensive coordinator, are just names. These are names I'm just seeing. Again, I've seen Matt Nagy, which is another guy that's been name dropped a lot for some of these teams. My biggest thing, and it infuriates me so much that all these news sites are spreading these rumors, is that Lamar is somehow going to get traded. It makes no sense to me. Lamar, the last couple of weeks have not been great for passing. He hasn't passed a lot. And I know that quarterbacks that are usually dual threats don't always age very well. However, Lamar Jackson is 28 years old. He's in what most quarterbacks are in the prime of their career. And he's still a damn good passer. Like, he's a better passer than a lot of those guys that are those considered dual threats, like Mike Vick and Cam Newton. Like, he's way better than those guys just as a pocket passer. And to think that you're going to trade him now, realistically, who would the Ravens want for Lamar? That would improve them now. Like, they're a win now team. Like, I'll let you even chime in if you have an idea of who the Ravens would possibly trade Lamar to.
Yeah, I mean, I don't really know. Like, there's no real guys that really stand out that are better than Lamar, especially the dual threat aspect. And I mean, you want to be healthy, but you want your guy, and he's your guy. You don't really. I can't think of a name that I'd trade Lamar for.
Yeah, and I think you're right. I'm glad we're on the same page on that, because to me, like, the biggest thing is, if you have a guy that's a dual threat like that, even if he's not running a lot, which he may well not the next like 10 years of his career or however long he plays, he may not run nearly as much as he used to. Teams still have to worry about him possibly scrambling at all times. Like, that's another wrinkle that defensive coordinators and coaches are going to have to worry about for whenever they're going to play the Ravens. So to me, it's like, why would you even trade Lamar? And doing the research, I read that 4 of their losses when Lamar started they lost by 1 score or less. Like, some of those are like 4 points, 5 points, 6 points. That swings your season completely. If you win even one of those games, you're in the playoffs. Like, you are, you just are. So to me, and like on paper, this was the most confusing part. Just looking at the numbers, their defense is very confusing. And so I think the defense needs the biggest overhaul. But so their rushing defense allows the 10th least amount of rushing yards, which is great. That's very good. However, they also allow the 10th most rushing touchdowns this season. So it's like, and then on the other side of that, the passing, they've allowed the 3rd most passing yards this season, but allowed the 22nd most passing touchdowns. So it's like, somehow they have equally a good and bad defense at the same time. It's Schrodinger's defense. Yeah. Like, we don't know what we're looking at. So they allow a lot of yards passing, but they don't let them score touchdowns. The red zone defense is very average. Everything else is kind of average about their defense beyond those stats. But it's just defensive adjustments need to be made. That's why I had Robert Saleh as my first pick for their coach. Like, defensive mind, you pick up some guys in the offseason, you like focus in on the draft, get some young guys. And, we've seen a lot of great defensive rookies this season. I think you really need to capitalize on the draft, especially when, your top guys are very expensive. Like, Lamar is not cheap. He's not on a cheap deal by any means. Go all in on the draft, and we'll see what we got. All right. You got anything else to say about the Bengals and or the Ravens?
Just hope they, show up better than they did this year.
All right, we're going to move on to rookies you were impressed by most this season. And I'll let you start with your offensive pick.
Mine is a little bit biased for offensive. I did Ted McMillan. I drafted him in fantasy. And he played good for me this year. He's just very consistent. 1,000-yard receiver as a rookie. That's a very good stat to have. And he kind of just comes in. He's already probably the number 1 on the Panthers. Bryce Young is kind of emerged to be like a legit quarterback that you can have and trust on your team. And they just need to put some guys around him. They had Xavier Legette last year. They got him. But then you get Teddy McMillan this year, and he's legit, best rookie out of this class, I'd say, comfortably. People, thought it was going to be Matthew Golden going into it, with him being the first one taken off the board, or one of the first. But, I think Ted McMillan, he played great, and, he's just a threat all the time. So
I couldn't agree more. I mean, I think I try to go a little bit outside the box on mine. I think that's a great pick. I figured you'd either go him or one of the Patriots guys. What's his name? Travion Henderson, I think his name is. Do I have that name right?
Yeah.
I figured you'd go either one of those guys. So, good pick, obviously. Very good pick. I think I was very impressed by him also. I think everybody is. I don't think anyone expected a rookie to get 1,000 yards anytime soon. I got R.J. Harvey from the Broncos. Again, kind of like you, might be a little biased because I've watched a lot of Broncos because my dad is a Broncos fan. So any game on television I've sat down and watched it for 3 hours. Even when the offense is borderline trash, I've sat down and really buckled in and watched some defensive film. RJ Harvey has started 7 games this season, especially towards the end, where I think he started like 5 or 6 in a row. Those starts, he has 300 rushing yards, 3.6 yards per rush, which isn't great, but 200 yards after the catch as a receiver. That's pretty good for 7 starts, plus 6 touchdowns in those 7 starts, 4 rushing, 2 receiving. Really good stuff. Like, just as a starter, overall, 17 games played, 540 rushing yards total, 356 receiving yards, and 12 touchdowns overall, which is really good. Like, as a red zone threat, he's very good because you can run it in with him. You can run some wheels. You can run some fades even if you really want to. If you want him on the line, you can do that. Usually that's not what they're running. But, I think it's a very obvious comparison, but I got some flashes of McCaffrey in there. And again, it's probably because I've watched a lot of both. Those are the teams I probably watched the most of, and the Patriots. Just because, obviously Patriots are local, but 49ers, my favorite team, my dad's favorite team, the Broncos. I see a lot of both Harvey and McCaffrey this year. But I love running backs that can catch, and I love that they can make plays on the ball. Like, if they're when they're in the backfield, they catch it behind the line of scrimmage and they break out and get 6 or 7 or 8 yards. That's fantastic. Like, I would love my running back to be able to do that. It's a shame not more can do that. Like, I think if Derrick Henry added that wrinkle to his game, I know he's older, but like we've seen, I think Saquon is a good example of a guy that can just do that. If you get him on the line, he could reverse hurdle you if he wants. Like, he can do that. But yeah, that's kind of my thing. Do you have any opinions on RJ Harvey overall?
I liked him a lot too. People had him pretty high going into the year, and he kind of started off slow, but he picked it up at the end for sure.
All right, I'm going to let you, if you have a defensive rookie that you were impressed by, please let me hear it.
Yeah, not a whole lot of guys stood off the page for me. One of the easier guys that people could have thought was Abdul Carter. But I'm going to go with James Pierce Jr. for the Falcons. Is that what you had?
I got 2, but yeah, he was one of them.
Okay.
Go on.
The Falcons are an interesting team. When they're healthy, they're a team that can beat the Bills. But when they're not, you don't know what to get from them. And defense is all right. Offense is all right. But, he was tied for first on his team with sacks. He had 8.5. And he just looks like he's a guy that can stick around for a Falcons team that's looking to, be a contender in the near future with some good guys like Drake London and Bijan Robinson. Penix looked pretty good at the end of the year, too. At the start of the year. And, James Pierce Jr., I think he's going to be a good building block to, shape up that defense, too. So.
I couldn't agree more with everything you just said. I was just double checking the status on Raheem Morris, and he is fired, just for the record. Like you said, like, this team on paper is fantastic, and I'll talk more about that in just a second. But like, when you look at the offense and you look at the defense, like, they have weapons on both sides of the field, like guys that can make plays. And like you said, Drake London, Robinson, all these guys. And it comes down to the coaching, and Raheem Morris is now interviewing with the Giants. Yeah, I just read that headline just now, just looking up to make sure he's still there. Apparently, yeah, he's gone. The defensive coordinator is of the Dolphins, Anthony Weaver, that I mentioned earlier, is interviewing right now. And I don't know if you heard, but Matt Ryan apparently looking to be the president of the Falcons. Didn't know. I just read that too. Just maybe. Yeah. I have no idea. I didn't even know he knew like business like that. But hey, if he's good, why not? But yeah, again, like, it's the coaching staff that needs the overhaul. I think the players are really good. And again, like you said, like, Pierce is fantastic. And the other guy I had was another Falcon, Xavier Watts. Really good, like, man coverage guy. Jumped off the page to me a little bit when doing the research. I was looking at that Falcons page, and I'm so glad you brought it up because you make a really good point. Like, this team looks really good. And, he had 5 interceptions on the year, which is pretty good for a rookie, like, overall. And he starts every game, and he's a real guy. Like, he's going to make plays on the ball, and I think that he can really grow into something special as this team evolves. Because, again, I'm honestly shocked that they missed the playoffs. Like, honestly. Like, I really, really thought that this team would pull through. And, again, the Bills game was like, whoa. Like, to me, before that game, the Bills were untouchable. Like, they were going to wipe through their conference. They were going to win the division very easily. They'd even win the conference. They'd beat all the teams. And then the Falcons sneak one by them. And I'm like, whoa.
Yeah.
They're not untouchable like I thought. And I'm a little concerned for the Bills even after that. Like, every time they play, I'm like, they could lose. Like, they're not untouchable like I think they are. And yeah, I don't know I know we talked about the Falcons, so we can move on unless you have another thought on either Pierce or Watts.
No, nothing there.
All right, Phillip Rivers, just in general. pretty cool to see him play. I just want to bring it up as a landmark because I think it was awesome. I think it was really cool to see him back. I got to watch him play with the Colts. Cool to see him back. I don't know if you had anything on that.
One of the things I just put down for him is, he's a dog. It's kind of funny, being that old coming out of retirement just to come back and play. And I mean, he did not play well in any circumstance
No.
at all, but he definitely held his own out there. And it's just cool to see. It's like one of those things where, you see like some people's legends and like favorite person to watch growing up, and next thing you know, you turn around and he's back and he's playing again. So it's just kind of a funny little thing right there.
Yeah, and I like that his kids got to see him play one more time. That's nice. Like it's a good storyline. Um, I don't think he'll win. Like someone said something like their little rumblings about comeback player of the year. I don't think it should go to him. I don't think he wants it. I think he said he doesn't want it. I don't blame him. And yeah, I remember I will say I do remember the rumor. Like when the rumor of Phillip Rivers coming back first came out, and I'm like, all right, well that's obviously not going to happen. And then like the next day or something, I'm like, oh shit, ESPN just told me he's coming back.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. I mean, how surprised were you when he came back on a scale of 1 to 10?
8.
10 being
I would
most
say 8.
8. Okay.
Yeah, I mean, you know, I was definitely super surprised. But out of all those like older quarterbacks right now around his age, I'm not surprised that he'd be the one to come back. And it's just kind of like a funny little thing, but in no aspect at all that I think that he would. I thought that they would give the job to Riley Leonard for the rest
Yeah.
of the season, honestly. But
Yeah, eventually got his chance again.
yeah,
What would you be more surprised on if they came back, Tim Tebow or Colin Kaepernick?
I would say it has to be Tim Tebow.
Yeah.
I'd be more surprised if Colin Kaepernick came back. I would expect Tim Tebow to more. I think Kaepernick would hear a lot from the media more than Phillip Rivers.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, I think probably Tim Tebow.
Yeah, that's a good guess. I don't know if I ever told you this, but I have Tim Tebow's Jaguars jersey.
Really?
Yeah. It was a real thing. It was something that was in the NFL shop for like a week, and my dad got one for me and one for him, and I have it in my room somewhere. And it was the first NFL jersey I ever owned. Legitimately.
That's sick.
I can't believe that, and I have it, and it's in my closet. NFL coaching carousel. This one aged really bad. This category, because the guys I put were Kevin Stefanski, Pete Carroll, John Harbaugh, Todd Bowles, who's still there, and then Mike McDaniel. Yeah, I mean, 4 of those guys got fired already, but before we even filmed, before today, I think all 4 of those guys were gone. If it's any consolation, I thought Mike McDaniel would stay, and then I thought the other 3 would get fired, definitely. Anything from you about that? I'm sorry for maybe I waited a little too long to do this one.
Well, honestly, it kind of just shows how good of a segment it would have been because you picked all the guys that are on the chopping block. But I thought Harbaugh was gone, and I also thought McDaniels was gone too because the Dolphins is just their situation is awful. But for Todd Bowles, he's the one out of the 5 that I said that I thought he'd be safe. Partially because he brought them to the playoffs in a sense. But at the end of the day, he's not a great coach either. They started off the season really hot. But it's not all his fault. Baker Mayfield was an MVP candidate at one point, and then, the cliff that he fell off is pretty huge. So, I think that he might, out of those 5, obviously, but I think that he's probably the most likely to stay. And that's what I thought before that. So.
Yeah, that's fair. I had Bulls as a unsure. I had him as a yellow. So, if that's any consolation, I mean, again, I think that's fair. The Baker thing's really complicated. I know he's tore both of his shoulders or something, and he got 3 other injuries probably.
Yeah.
I like Baker a lot. I remember though, like the 2 weeks he was like incredible, and everyone's like, oh yeah, he's the MVP, he's a shoo-in. I'm like, all right, let's slow down. But would have been cool. Didn't happen. Sucks. But I think this is the segment everyone's waiting for. Who do you think is the MVP, Matt Stafford or Drake May? And I'll let you start.
I think, obviously, with much bias, it should be Drake May. But at the same time, I think they will give it to Matthew Stafford. I've seen some interesting stats about Stafford. I think he has the most touchdowns thrown from
Yeah.
the 1 yard line
Oh.
um, of all time in a single season. That might have just been propaganda, but I definitely did see a lot of those. And he was a fantasy quarterback, and he did serve me well. But at the same time, if Stafford wins it, I wouldn't be surprised, and I wouldn't hate on it either. I want Drake May to win, but at the same time, Stafford is a all-time great quarterback, and in my opinion, he's one of my favorite quarterbacks to watch because the way he throws the ball is it's so beautiful, and his throws are just immaculate, and we saw that this year too. So, that's just my take on it. But at the end of the day, they're both very deserving of it.
Yeah, that's fair. I mean, I think for me it's actually the opposite. I think Stafford should win, but I think May will win. I
Yeah,
like both. Like I think both are fair. Like I don't have a problem with either of them winning at the end of the day. As much as I don't like New England, if May wins, that's awesome for him. Uh, Many quarterbacks end up being all-time greats winning their second season. I think Brady did, at least second season starting. Brady, I think Mahomes, Dan Marino famously did. This is not like a new thing, so it kind of cements him as like he's going to be one of the guys. Like that's great, and I hope the best for May. I think that's awesome. But I think if Stafford wins, like the whole argument is that it's kind of like a legacy award. Like it's like this guy was in the league for 15 or so years, however long, and he battled every game like it was his last. And I think again, the people voting on this, and I listened to the Bill Simmons podcast, and they made a great point. The people who vote on these things are journalists. What do they like more than a good story? Stafford is the ultimate story. He's like 37 years old, had never won an MVP before. The storyline's there for him to win. Like, these are the people voting for the award. It's not people like you and me who are just looking at like stats. The MVP is not
yeah.
decided by stats completely. We know this is not a new thing. It probably should be, but it's not. It's not. It's never really been who's the best. The only thing I want to disparage is the argument that Stafford has Puka Nacua. True, like fantastic receiver. I've loved watching him this season. A lot of great MVP level seasons have had great wide receivers with them. Mahomes had Hill and Kelsey. Brady had Moss and Gronk. Rodgers had Devontae Adams. Like I don't think that changes it. Like you still have to throw the
No,
ball. Like at the
not
end
at
of the
all.
day, all right. Well, I'm glad you agree because a lot of New England fans are like, well, if May had Puka Nacua, he doesn't. Like he just doesn't. So I don't know why
And
this is.
Puka was hurt for a good amount of the season too. It's not like he
Mm,
was healthy the whole time. He had to work with some other guys like an old Devontae Adams and then random other receivers that he has on his team. So
that's a great point. And I mean, listen, if May ends up winning, fine. I'm happy for them either way. But this has become like a really heated debate, and I kind of don't want either side to win because it's kind of gotten to the point where I'm very annoyed by this. The votes are already
yeah,
in; they were in before Week 18, regardless. So no matter what happened that week, it doesn't matter. I mean, we can talk
Mhm.
about if you want to talk about the Drake the schedule May. We can talk about that. I mean, do you have an opinion on the schedule stuff or what are your thoughts?
um, I forget what the stat was exactly, but I think it was like the strength of opponent. Um, and the Patriots did have one of like the worst strength of opponents that like out of most of the teams, but guess who's right next to them? It's the Broncos. So Broncos were, I don't know if they had like lighter opponents or a little bit harder, but at the same time, they play the teams they play and they can't do anything else about it, and they handle the teams that they played, and they did lose to the Bills. They lost to the Steelers as well, and a couple of the teams here and
The
there. But I
Raiders.
think if the
That was a
Raiders.
bad one. Week
Yeah,
one.
that reminds me of the Bears, I guess, because they
Mm.
started the season off with some tough losses as well. But at the same time, I think if you put the Patriots against some of those other teams, I think they would have played pretty well as well. Maybe not the same record, but we can't really say too much about that.
Yeah, I'd have to agree. Like it's you play who's in front of you. I've always thought that the schedule can be as easy or as hard as it is. My biggest like thought, and I don't know if you'll agree, this is one of the weakest MVP classes we've had in many years. I mean, no Mahomes, no Josh Allen not in it is different reasons. No Lamar, no Burrow. Those are like your four key guys. Hurts isn't even there. Other guys were missing a lot of time. Like Jordan Love could have been like a guy that's competing for this award. He got a concussion. It's a really weak class, and I think both sides are on a like kind of agreeing with that. Like if this was any other year, neither Stafford or May would be anywhere close to this award. But again, this is the cards were dealt. Would you agree with that?
I would. For a couple reasons, Stafford, he does a lot throwing. He's not going to get you anything with his legs, and I wouldn't say that he had a, insane season throwing the ball necessarily stat wise. And same thing with Drake May. I don't think he had a game this year. Maybe he had like one or two over 300 passing yards. For a couple reasons, he's running the ball too. They have a good running game.
Yeah.
And he throws the ball when he needs to. But at the same time, like it's when it's less about the stats and more about like storylines and stuff like that, that can attribute more to like a weaker class, I'd say.
Yeah, I think that's fair. Any more thoughts on Stafford v. May before we move on to the playoffs? This is the moment everyone's waiting for, I know.
Yeah, I'm ready for it.
All right, let's start. Chargers at Patriots. Herbert's coming off an injury, most notably with his hand, as far as I'm pretty sure, something with his thumb. Drake May, huge game for him. It's his first playoff game. He's really looking to announce himself as one of the guys. Even if he doesn't win the MVP, this is still major. And then Harbaugh versus Vrabel, coaching battle. These are two of the better coaches in the league. I would say both top 10. I think that's fair. That's going to be a chess match of a coaching battle. What are your thoughts on this game, and what are your predictions overall?
I think it's gonna be a pretty good game. It's gonna be a good quarterback matchup. Justin Herbert is emerging to be one of those top quarterbacks in the NFL right now. But I do believe that the Chargers are gonna come up short, and I think the Pats are gonna outweigh them on both sides of the ball and with a lot more skill than the Chargers.
Yeah, I think that's fair. I think this is a very good May game. I don't know if it's great. Like I think I could see him throwing an interception, like a kind of a bad ball here or there.
Yep.
But listen, Harbaugh is going to try his very best, and Herbert, I'm sure, if assuming he plays, which as far as I'm aware, he is going to play. This is a big test for both of them. These teams last matched up last season at my first NFL game I ever been to, actually, at Gillette. Chargers v. Patriots. Last time it ended very differently with the Chargers completely destroying them by like 30 points, which was a crazy game to watch as like a guy who really had no opinion on this game. So Patriots got some beef. Like I think that's the biggest storyline that you can kind of pull from this is the Patriots got beef. May wants to, take back what happened last year, and we're going to see what happens. I would have to agree, though. Patriots win, I think, by double digits. And, yeah, I might go to the game, so we'll see. If I go to the game, there might be some content going on. We'll see.
That'd be sick.
We'll see. I mean, it depends on the weather, genuinely. Like, I'm not going in 20-degree weather. I went to UConn v. Army at Fenway Park, and it was, like, 5 degrees outside.
Oh, no.
And I was wearing like 3 layers of pants and 3 layers of like top, and like could not feel like waist down for maybe an hour after. So we'll see. To move on to Bills at Jaguars. The question is really, are the Jaguars legit? How does Allen perform on the road? Josh Allen will likely be on the road for the entirety of these playoffs. He's the 6th seed, obviously. And the biggest question on my mind, I think the more interesting one is, what does Trevor Lawrence look like under pressure? This is his first real like tough playoff game against a brittle opponent. What do you got for me with Bills at Jaguars?
It's tough to say. But I have the Bills sneaking a win here. I think that the Jaguars are a good team, but they might be a little bit fraudulent, and I think that Allen's going to ball out, and Trevor Lawrence has been good all year. He's snuck into the MVP voting as well. I think he might be like third in like the candidates wise, but I think that the Bills they'll be able to get a win here. I think this should be like one of their easiest like paths to the Super Bowl, I guess. But this isn't the Bills from past years, so but I think they will definitely win in the first round, to be honest.
I think that's a good prediction. It's bad podcasting, but I'd have to agree. I'm not going to even like pretend I think the Jaguars can win. Josh Allen's a playoff riser. Like you said, Josh Allen's going to show up. I think you're on the money with that. Uh, maybe Lawrence has a good game, like genuinely, but I just don't fully believe in this Jaguars team yet.
Mm-hmm.
I think they have a future, like genuinely, I do. Very impressed. A cousin of mine is a Jaguars fan for many years. Don't know how that happens, but Blake Bortles, man. I guess Blake Bortles in 2017 just really spoke to him. But I'd have to agree. And this game is not that interesting to me, really, because I think the Bills are just going to win. And what you said is true. Like the Bills will have an easier path to the Super Bowl. They're still playing teams in the playoffs. Like they're still playing really good teams. They're not playing. He's not playing Lamar, Mahomes, or Burrow, but like the Jaguars have a really good lineup. Like overall, like on paper they look good. Like the Bills could easily win by 25, but I think the Bills will win by double digits. I think that's a safe bet. Yeah, I think unless you have do you have any other thoughts on Bills Jaguars before we move to the next one?
Not really, no.
I didn't really think so. Texans at Steelers is a really weird game. Both teams kind of feel like they shouldn't even really be there. That's kind of the thought, at least. Is there really a favorite in this game is like the question on my mind. And what does CJ Stroud look like in his 5th ever playoff game? Stroud is 2-2 in the playoffs all time. His stats are very average, just solely on paper, not looking at any film. Thoughts on Texans at Steelers?
I think the Texans will win, and they'll win commandingly. I think the Steelers are, in my opinion, an awful team. I don't like their team at all. Defense is shaky. Offense is, in my opinion, awful. And I think that the Texans have a legit defense, one of the better defenses in the playoffs, and I think that'll show up for them. I think C.J. Stroud, there's not a whole lot there with him. I think he's a pretty average quarterback. Wouldn't trade him, wouldn't want to get a different other guy. But I think that their defense is going to serve them pretty well in this game.
I hate to tell you, but I think the Steelers are going to sneak this one out. And listen, I like your thoughts on the Texans. I do. However, I wouldn't want to play at the Steelers Stadium. I just wouldn't. It's not a great place to play in. Like as far as like opposing players coming in to their stadium, like they have some of the most brutal fans, I would say, is a good way to put it.
For sure.
Listen, Aaron Rodgers is hot and Aaron Rodgers is cold. Like we've seen it all year. Can he like pull something basically out of his ass at this point? I really think so. Like I think like, and this will be the prediction that probably ages the worst out of everything I'm going to tell you today. But I think Aaron Rodgers could sneak one out, and I wouldn't be that surprised. Like I love Aaron, and I know that's not a popular opinion to have in 2026, but I think Aaron's awesome, and I really like the run game. Their defense or their passing offense is not as great. I think DK Metcalf has become kind of a scapegoat. Not a great last game, but I mean, he's got a lot of fire underneath his ass recently. We'll see. I mean, I'm fine with this one being wrong. I don't feel that confident about the Steelers, but I'm gonna take them anyway because I think Rodgers got something in him. Stroud is fine. I mean, I don't really have an opinion on Stroud. Kind of threw that one in there just as a thought process, but I got nothing for Stroud. To move on to probably the most interesting game we've talked about so far, Packers at Bears. Again, I don't know 100% if Love is playing or not. Maybe if I were to Google it right now, maybe there'd be something that just comes out. But how quickly do you think the Bears take care of the Packers?
Not as quick as people think. I will say that. If Jordan Love is sitting at like a 70% right now, I would start Malik Willis over him. Malik Willis has been playing elite ball recently, and I think that he'll get a bag from a lot of teams next year, and a lot of teams will be looking for him. I'm very high on him. Jordan Love is a very good quarterback as well, but I think if you are tied between the two, and especially if Jordan Love is not 100%, I would just stick with the safe bet and go with Malik Willis. Playoffs are a lot different than regular season, but I think he will do well. I think that this will test the Bears, but I think that they'll have a rough first half, but then pull it away in the second half. I think that's kind of how it should go. I think.
I'm honestly really that was a really interesting take. I like the Malik Willis take. Honestly, I think this happens probably every 2 or 3 years where a backup quarterback will come in the playoffs, play really well, get a bag in the offseason, and then just kind of disappear for a little bit. I think this is something that we've seen a lot, and I think this could be repeated here. Um, if we're assuming that Love is not going to play, which I don't think he will, but I didn't have a confirmation. I didn't want to say it.
I will chime in. I just searched up right now. It appears that Packers are very confident in Jordan Love playing.
Okay.
I've seen many articles saying that they're not worried about his rest going to the playoffs, and I think that that's what they're assuming. So, but I just wanted to add that real quick so you can keep going with yours.
No, thank you. Thank you for assuming that because I was going to say assuming he's out, but now that I know he's probably going to play, that does change something for me. Um, here's the problem. If he's playing and he's coming off a like concussion protocol, if he takes one hit, like one like late hit, is he done? Like, is he just out? Like, I don't even know what happened. Like, what do you think? Like, I generally don't know what to think about this whole thing.
Um, the refs have definitely been a lot more in it when it comes to um, the people telling them like you got to come off for a play, go to the blue tent, see what's up. But I think if that does happen, you still got Malik Willis on the bench too, and I like him a lot. But tough thing is, I'm not very wowed by the Packers receiving core. I think I just see a lot of wide receiver twos. Your top guys like what Romeo Dobbs, Christian Watson, because I know it's not Matthew Golden. That's what they thought it was going to be. So, and you got Josh Jacobs, but I'm not really very high on the Packers.
Yeah. I'm gonna take the Bears too. Packers offense looks shaky. I like their defense. A lot of the defense that I like is Parsons, obviously, but um, you know, even if Love plays, I'd have to agree. I think I got the Bears winning this one pretty handily. I don't know by two scores, but I think they'll take care of business. This is the one I've been really looking forward to talking about is Niners at Eagles. Bitter rivalry. We've seen these teams face off in the playoffs many times over the past few years. Um, the question is like who is in and who's out for the Niners. A lot of injuries have gone on between Fred Warner has been a big one to lose. Trent Williams is probably the most notable one that I've noticed last week that not being able to block Purdy's blindside really really killed the Niners is the biggest thing I've noticed. And if we had that extra protection, maybe things are different. Ricky Pearsall, George Kittle's back, but again, he's not 100%. McCaffrey is under heavy use after this past season. Like he's gone through like so much sweat and blood and bones to scrape together the season, and he had a really good season, but like he's like been used a lot. Like he's getting the ball like every play. It feels like whether it's a pass, or whether off a reception or a run. That's the worry is like if McCaffrey takes one bad hit, like I'm worried about him. Like I don't want him to get hurt, but like man, like if he takes one bad hit, he might be done. Um, can Shanahan repair the offense is another note I have. I went on a little tangent there, but Shanahan last week, I'm not 100% sure what happened. Again, the Seahawks defense is the best in the league statistically, so I understand that, but I don't know. And then on the other side of that, the Eagles in December are 3-1, which is very good. Hurts though, 6 touchdowns, 4 interceptions, 60 completion percentage. Is Jalen Hurts okay? Carter, I'm gonna throw this one to you.
Um, I have no clue. A lot of divas on that team. AJ Brown, especially. I like Jalen Hurts a lot. He's got a good story, especially with him winning the Super Bowl last year. But that's last year, and this year he's been nothing but shaky. And I drafted him in fantasy, so of course I'm going to be a little bit extra mad at him. And yes, I did drop him at the end of the season because I was that mad at them.
Oh.
But at the end of the day, I don't love the Eagles here. I'm on your show, so I'm going to pick the 49ers. Joking. I think the 49ers should win. Brock hit the Dougie Purdy. He's great, and I think that he's going to, fuel this offense to a win. And you kind of talked about the Steelers playing in Pittsburgh. It's really tough. It's really tough for the Eagles to play in Philadelphia. One thing goes wrong, and you hear a bunch of boos. I think it was Black Friday. They played the Bears, and the Bears exposed them. And I've never heard more boos from a home crowd to your own team in a long time. And it was very surprising. But I think that, it's one of those places where it's going to be a tough environment for both teams to play in a sense. So
I couldn't agree more with that take at the end there. I watched that Black Friday game. I don't think I watched the fourth quarter because I was just like, I can't watch any more of this game. Yeah, the Bears, like that's the thing. If Hurts throws an interception on like drive two,
yeah,
I don't know. Like I don't really know what they do from there. Like you can't go to the backup. I don't think you kind of just have to thug it out and really pray that Saquon is all there. If the Niners are healthy, I think we can win. Like genuinely, I think we can win this one.
it's
This is a
not an if you're healthy can you win. I think you guys should win even if you're not healthy. I think the Eagles are not a good team in my opinion. I really don't. I don't think that they're going to be ready to play in this game. I hate the Eagles if
wow.
I'm being honest. Yes, very
Wow,
choice words meant
that's a
towards
great
them.
take. All right, that's
Yes,
the hottest take award. Yeah. Okay, no, I like the energy that you're bringing there. I think the Niners win definitely. Not just saying that because I'm a fan. I genuinely believe that the Niners will take care of business. Purdy had that little run where he had like 11 touchdowns in 2 games or some crazy number like that. Where I was
yeah,
just watching those games and I'm like, I can't believe this guy's my quarterback. This is great. But I could be in a situation where I'm like, I can't believe this is my quarterback in a bad way. Like this is, I love Brock, but the playoffs have not always been his best friend. I'd love to see them win one. It's going to be a tough road. If we got the 1 seed, which was like in reach, which is like a foot away from us grabbing it,
yeah,
maybe things are different. Like maybe
yeah,
I'm not as worried. I'm very concerned. This game should be a win. Despite playing in Philly, we have the better record. We have the better team, if you ask me. And I agree with you. I don't think the Eagles are totally there overall. To move it to our second to last one, our second to last team comparison, it's the Rams and the Panthers, or Rams at Panthers, I should say. Is Matt Stafford ready to go on another Super Bowl run? And then what does Bryce Young look like in his first playoff game? And Carter, again, I'll start with you.
Um, I think the Rams will play very well. I think Young, they're gonna be kind of conservative with him. They're gonna rely on their running backs at the start of the game, and then they're gonna realize that they can't win this game when you're going against a Rams offense that should be full strength. Um, but overall, I think Young will put up a good fight, but Rams are kind of just like the bullies in this fight, in my opinion.
Yeah, this is not a very interesting one to discuss.
No.
I'm expecting some 1 yard line throws from Stafford. Maybe
Yep.
one or two of those. Puka gets a touchdown probably. Rams win by like 14. Again, this is not like the most entertaining game to talk about. Probably the only one less entertaining is probably Texans Steelers, but even then I like the storyline there more with the Steelers and
Yeah.
both Steelers and Texans. So yeah, not a lot to say there. Stafford, maybe he's ready to go into a Super Bowl run. I mean, again, I think his conference is pretty wide open now. Um, it's theirs if he wants it. I think like there again, this is overall like a weaker year. Like in NFL history, I think it's been an awesome year to watch. Like I've had a lot of fun, but it's not the most competitive. Like those injuries and those teams missing the playoffs that I keep bringing up, the Niners, the Bengals, the Ravens, those teams missing it. I mean the Chiefs, not the Niners. Excuse me. Missing the playoffs is like rough. Like that's not
Mm-hmm.
like ideal. So what happens this year in the NFL playoffs? A lot like the NBA, where it feels like there's not one true like favorite as opposed to years
Yeah,
prior. Obviously, NBA will say that for another day, but like the NFL, it feels like most of these teams could end up winning. Not most, but a lot of these teams could end up winning.
for sure.
Broncos and Seahawks. Obviously, these guys are not playing each other, but I want to get your take. Which team goes further between the Broncos and the Seahawks?
Seahawks 10 times out of 10.
Hmm.
Um, I got a lot of choice words for the Eagles, but I have just as many for the Broncos. I think the Broncos are awful. I don't like Bo Nix. I used to
Oh,
back him up in a lot of arguments that I had with my brother last year. But I don't like him. I think that they are another team where they don't have another great receiver. And I don't know. I just don't. I'm not really amazed by them. They have a pretty good defense again, but um, strength of schedule just as bad as the Patriots, and they're the 1 seed in the AFC. But this isn't regular season, so they got to buckle up if they want to go pretty far. And the Seahawks, we know how good they are. They're like a reliable team, but at the same time, NFC is a gauntlet for sure. So I could be wrong, but I think the Broncos are just a much worse team.
I don't think you're wrong. I'd have to agree. The Seahawks will probably go further. I like their team more. I mean, Darnold's the question mark, I think. And he's been good. Like, it's not like he's been like, a check down machine. Like, he's making throws. Like, he's
Yeah.
legit. I saw it myself in the Niners game last week. If the Seahawks can really pull it all together and really just make a run, I could see it. Like, I wouldn't be very surprised if they just go all in and make a run. Again, the Broncos, it's been nice to watch them this year, but those games are ugly, and a lot of them are pretty boring. Not to sound like too much of a Gen Zer, but some of those games do get a little frustrating to watch. I mean, we'll see. What does Bo Nix really look like in the playoffs? I don't think we have like a firm answer. I think this will answer that question essentially. Whoever they played in the first round or the second round, the divisionals, we'll see. Lastly, before we wrap up, I have the last category. The Super Bowl category is the 14 teams that remain in the playoffs. Separate them into 4 categories based off how likely they are to make the Super Bowl. And the 4 categories are very likely to make it, would be slightly surprised if they made it, maybe next year they can make it, and then if a time traveler told me this team makes the Super Bowl, I would spit in their face. That's the 4th category. You don't have to say the whole thing. You can abbreviate to how you want. Let's start with, where do you place the Broncos on this and those 4?
Broncos are in, maybe next year they'll make it, which is surprising as a 1 seed. You're in tier 3 of the 4, but might I add, this is a very good segment that you cooked up. I really like this, but
Thank you.
yeah, I'm not high on the Broncos, and I think that they could be a team that could do pretty well next year, but in no aspect do I think that they'll be winning or making the Super Bowl.
Again, not the most interesting podcast because I'd have to agree. I have maybe next year they'll make it. I mean, if they make it, I don't think it's like I'm going to be like, dropped into a coma. But, I don't think they have a shot this year. Again, next year, if they come back, Bo Nix works his tail off this offseason, maybe. Again, I think we're kind of in agreement on this one. So I'll move it to the other 1 seed, which is the Seahawks. I have very likely to make it. Again, a 1 seed that we've seen take down really good teams. Run game's great. Defense is awesome. And they got some great receivers. If you disagree, feel free to chime in.
Sadly, I do agree. But at the end of the day, we're agreeing because that is just what makes sense. It's not like we're agreeing on these obscure takes, but at the same time, I think they're a very, very good team. And I think that I just wouldn't be very surprised.
All right. Panthers, I think we're probably going to say the same thing, so I'll just let you go ahead.
Here's 4. Here's 1. They're right here. They're at 4. They're just not a good team. Sadly, that's what it is. With 4 teams automatically make it just by winning your division. That's what they got, but they're not a good team. If they even make it out of the first round, I might spit in a time traveler's face. But that's just what it is.
Can we make a 5th category just for the Panthers? I think I'll just write that down in my doc. They're not going to make it. I mean, I don't know.
Just Panthers right here.
Yeah, right. That's what I mean.
Yep.
Just the Panthers category. Carolina Panthers. I'm still a little surprised that they made it. I mean, I know they have a good team. They have a lot of good offensive guys, but whatever. Rams, I have very likely to make it. I think like genuinely, I don't think there's many teams. I think there's, what do I got? One more team on here that I think are very likely to make it. I do think the Rams are one of them. I think when Stafford's got it all together and the team's healthy and the run defense is all together, like this is a damn good team. Like, again, it's not the playoffs last year. Like, I think this is a little bit softer on the outside, in depth wise, but the Rams are fucking awesome. Like, they're really fun to watch. Those 1-yard passes aside, they're a really good team, and Stafford's great. And maybe he's not like the most athletic guy, but like his pocket presence and his awareness is unmatched by pretty much anyone in the league right now. So yeah, I'm gonna go Rams, very likely to make the Super Bowl.
I actually have them in the tier below, and to kind of go off that, the 49ers in the tier above them, I kind of have them flip-flopped. I think the 49ers are a really good team, personally. Obviously you like to hear that. But at the end of the day, I think that's what it is. And I think Brock Purdy he got really hot at the end of the season. Maybe that's just the Dougie taking over, but hopefully he can take that with him in the playoffs. Hopefully, but I think we got a lot of guys, and I want to add this. I don't know if you've seen this, but have you seen that video of Fred Warner climbing up that I don't know what it was, but it was like this staircase outside, and he was had his shirt off and he ran up to it, climbed up it, and then just got off. I don't know if you haven't seen it and you're watching this, or if you haven't seen it yourself, you need to watch it because it's the fact that he's not healthy and he's not cleared right now, he should be, because it was insane. So I
I think
needed
I
to
did.
add that.
No, I think I did see that one.
Okay.
My hope is that they were just saving him. Like I think maybe they're just this game, the Seahawks game was a wash or whatever, and we'll just save him for the playoffs.
Yeah.
Yeah, Fred Warner's the man. That's a very funny video. I do know what you're referencing. I think I saw that one on TikTok.
Yeah.
Yeah, the Niners are my third out of four. I misspoke. There's four teams in the very likely to make it. I do think the Niners are really likely to make it. And again, that's a little bit of bias showing there. I have to agree with you though. When this team has it, they have it. This offense can roll. Even when guys are hurt, Purdy's making plays. The Bears game is the best example I have. I watched this game, and again, the defense was not very good. They're just letting up plays left and right. But then on the other side of that coin, the Seahawks game, their defense looked really good. They didn't allow any passing touchdowns that game, which is great. That's fantastic. And if they can replicate that over the course of these playoffs, find the best parts of the offense and the defense that we've seen, they can make it work. And again, obviously that's best case scenario, which probably won't happen. But when we think about their road to the Super Bowl, I think they can make it. I don't think it's impossible.
No, not at all.
And I think on the other side of that coin is the Eagles, who I have as maybe next year they'll make it. If you want to chime in on that, I think we've said a lot about the Eagles and how much we don't like them and don't like them this year especially. But if you have any other takes,
I believe we have very mirrored kind of list right now where we have our teams, because I have them in the same spot. I just think it would be disrespectful to other teams if I put them in the upper tiers. If I'm being honest, I just don't think they're a very good team, and I think that Jalen Hurts needs to figure something out in the offseason, because he was not good this year, and I think I don't know what he needs to do, but he needs to do something.
yeah, I think they got a lot of work to do this offseason. Packers, I honestly have them in 4. I don't know if that's a crazy take, but with Love coming off a bad injury, concussion protocol, the receiver and core just not being there at all, really. I would genuinely think the Eagles would make it before them. I don't know if that's a crazy take, but the Packers just don't look great as Micah has been and all that. This has been a really rough year for them, and I hope they find what they're looking for next year. But this is an awful team as far as how they are at this very moment. I think most of these teams that we're seeing right now, beyond maybe the Panthers, would beat the Packers.
Yeah, I have them in the maybe next year they'll make it. They have some interesting moves to make in the offseason. I think personally right now it's safe to say that they won't be going to the Super Bowl. So, but overall, they have just a lot of guys, and they seem to find a guy that can be their guy offensively for the receiving core. But I think they find that they make a couple other just minuscule moves to just shape up some things. I think they could definitely be a threat next year, a real threat.
Bears, I have maybe next year. I don't think there's really a shot they have. Again, generally speaking, usually a team has to make the playoffs one time and have a run where they get eliminated before they can make a Super Bowl. I think that's just something that we've seen, and I don't think the Bears are going to break that trend. I just don't. As far as I'm aware, usually a team has to get to the playoffs and then lose. There's been exceptions. I think Brady and the Patriots has been an exception to that, where they kind of Brady's first year fully starting, not his first year, but his first year fully starting, they get there. But again, Caleb Williams and Tom Brady, they got to make the playoffs. They have to lose in order to win in the long run. I don't think they lose to the Packers, but I'm just saying, whoever they end up playing after, they lose to them. Next year they can come back and they can compete. That's what I got for the Bears.
Incoming on the fly trivia question for all the fans at home and Connor. You can pause this if you want to answer on your own. What NBA team had this same comparison where they haven't had any playoff runs prior to, but they ended up making it to the championship. This is very recent.
Very recent.
Very recent as in the past 10 years.
Did they win or lose? Like, did they get to the championship and win?
They lost
They
in
lost.
6, I believe.
Whoa.
Incoming hint as well. Near and dear to my heart. And no, it's not the Celtics.
I was gonna say, there's no way. What was it, Miami?
It was not Miami. It was Phoenix.
Oh,
Devin Booker,
you're
Chris
right.
Paul, Mikal Bridges, Cam Johnson. This is an NBA, but I will say that I have the Bears in category 2. Would be slightly surprised if they make it. I agree with that take. That whole playoff run, I was kind of saying to myself, these Suns have not had any playoff experience, but they have Chris Paul. I guess you can say a couple of things like that. The Bears, they don't have like a Chris Paul for them, but they have some other experienced guys. DJ Moore can help Caleb Williams out as one of his receivers, but they do have a lot of young guys. Some of their best threats: Colson Loveland, Caleb Williams, also Luther Burden third, one of my favorite players out of this draft class. But I think that they're a very battle-tested team. Great coach as well. And honestly, I wouldn't be surprised if they made a way to sneak it into the Super Bowl, to be honest.
If they make the Super Bowl, I'll eat my own hat. Like I don't know. I mean, maybe you're right, but I just don't see it. Again, that's a very good example for the Phoenix Suns. Not a take I was thinking about really, but I think it's an outlier. Honestly, like these things in football, especially with football being so many more players involved compared to basketball, they're so hard.
Yeah.
I think that's a good comparison. I don't think that's a bad comparison, but I just, the Bears got a lot of work to do. I don't think they're bad. I get to see them. I think their offense can roll when they're good, but I hate to bring it up, but the last throw that Caleb Williams made in that Niners game, not great. Those are the clutch time plays that you need to make in the playoffs, and a game might come down to that. And if you can't make that play, then I don't even know what we're doing.
Yeah.
These next two teams are not interesting to me at all, but I guess we should do them anyway. The Texans and the Steelers. I have them in the same category, honestly, which is category 4 because I'm not going to even repeat it again. As much as I want to root for the Steelers, I just don't think they make it. It'd be nice, but it's just not a team that I could see winning it. And then the Texans, Stroud is very good and the defense is awesome. The defense is really good. But again, you need to lose. And they have lost in the past. Like they've made the playoffs twice already, the Texans under the Stroud era. But this team is not built offensively to compete with the other guys, honestly. But I'll let you take a step in there.
Yeah, I had those two split up. I have Steelers in the 4th category. I have the Texans in the 3rd because, more of the fact that if I were to pick one of those two teams to make it to the Super Bowl, it would be the Texans. I think because I think they have a lot more chance to go on a run, especially with their powerful defense. Stroud gets hot here and there, but I think next year they could be poised to make a run. Getting some guys back. Maybe making some moves. Help Stroud out a little bit in a couple ways, but that's just really what I got.
That's a fair take. I mean, I don't really have a problem with the Texans take. We'll see. I mean, again, neither teams are going to win the Super Bowl or frankly make it, but next year I don't have a problem with the Texans competing for it if they win this game against the Steelers and maybe they even win the divisional game. I don't know who they're going to play, and they make the conference and lose. Then yeah, I can definitely see that. Bills, Jaguars. I got Bills at 1. That's my last team that I think is very likely. And then Jaguars, I got maybe next year, honestly. And I like the Jaguars. I know we talked about how they're kind of fraudulent, and they may well be. There's a good chance they get destroyed by the Bills, and they lose by 35, and then everyone's like, yeah, I saw that coming. But I mean, we don't know what we don't know. The Bills, I think if they're going to make it any time, I think now's the time. It's not like they're going to trade Josh Allen or anything like that, but now is a great time to win. And this road is probably easier than it's going to be for the next couple of years as young guys start to get better and the already good guys get even better. So I think now is the time the Bills have to make it. and I hope they compete, and I hope they can win something. But I'll throw it off to you to see what your thoughts are between the Bills and the Jags.
I'm glad we disagreed on this one too, just so we can get some more outlooks. But I have both of them, and would be slightly surprised if they made it.
Wow.
I'm not huge in the Jaguars, but at the same time, the AFC is so weak, so it's kind of like flip a coin, which one of those teams wins that game. They could go on and make a little run, and I wouldn't be too surprised if they took that run to the Super Bowl. But I feel like I had to put one AFC team, and the very likely to make it. I do only have one, and I just didn't think that either of those teams are good enough to be in that category. I think that Josh Allen is good enough to be in that category, but the Bills aren't. That's kind of like my interesting way to look at it. I think the Jaguars, not a whole lot to think of them, but at the same time, not a whole lot to think of a vast majority of the AFC playoff teams.
Now, I think that's a fair take. Like you can, a lot of these are like there's some like variables to them. Like the Bills being 1 or 2, or the Jags being 2 or 3. Like those aren't like crazy polls. Like if you were saying the Bills are like 3 instead of like 2, or instead of 1, then that's a little different. But
Yeah.
I mean, again, these conversations can only go so far before we just are totally speculating, and we really have no facts to go off of. The Bills, we kind of know what this team is. Like we've seen them in the playoffs many times. We've seen them fall short many times. I don't know what they have now. The Jaguars are not the team that's going to overthrow them. I don't think, even with being the home team. I may well be wrong, but I'm pretty confident in saying the Jaguars will probably end up losing to the Bills. Yeah, I mean, listen, I mean, maybe the Jaguars can compete next year and they can come back and they can rally. But again, you need a loss. Like I said, these things don't really happen like that. To end off, I'm going to end with the Patriots and the Chargers. I'm going to let you start because I feel like I've been talking a lot. So why don't you start?
You have been talking a lot, but I have them on opposite sides of the board. I had Patriots and very likely to make it, and Chargers and Category 4. Patriots, I don't think this isn't the best Patriots team I've seen in any sense of my lifetime watching the Patriots, but at the same time, this is one of the weaker AFC brackets I've seen in my lifetime, and I think that with that being said, I don't really see a team that's better than the Patriots in the AFC right now. I think they're really hot. They got a lot of buzz around their team. Some of that's negative, sadly, right now. If you know, you know. But I just think that they got a lot of guys. I think they have one of the better coaches in the playoffs too with Vrabel. I like Vrabel a lot. And I think that with all those components combining together, that should lead them to success. But Chargers at the other end, it's tough. I feel like it's just Justin Herbert and a couple other guys fighting for their life out there. I'd be willing to put them in the maybe next year they'll make it, but it's more like maybe next year they'll be more of a threat, in my opinion. But that's just my take on it.
I think those are both fair takes. I'd have to agree with the Chargers part, especially. You can tell when a team's gonna be able to compete for a Super Bowl. Like there are tells. It's like strong defense, one really strong guy that stands out as an offensive weapon, and I some of these tells don't really match up with what the Chargers got right now. So yeah, they're not going to make it, and they're in Category 4 for me as well. However, I have Patriots in Category 2. A couple reasons. Like again, I hate to parrot myself, but like they got to lose something. You don't just come right in, especially a guy like Drake May, especially in the NFL landscape we're watching right now, and just win. And I don't think the Patriots are like invincible by any means. They could definitely like make the Super Bowl. Like if they make the Super Bowl and then lose, I'm like not going to be that surprised. I'm still going to keep them in 2 because again, the wide receiver core, I'm not 100% sold on, and maybe I'm in the minority with that one, but I don't think I'm 100% there. And we haven't seen May in the playoffs yet. Like that to me, that's number 1. Like we know what Vrabel looks like in the playoffs. He's brought his teams to like upsets before and to conference championships as the coach with Ryan Tannehill, no less. Like we've seen these things happen. Like
Yeah.
But Drake May, and he may well be great. Like if he's great, he's great, and I hope the best for him. But we'll see. I mean, I still have them in 2, and slightly surprised if they make it. and I think that's where this journey stops for us.
Mm-hmm.
So we've kind of gone through all the teams, and I think this is a good time to wrap up. We've hit about the hour 20 mark. Carter, any last thoughts on the NFL? Do you have like a prediction for the Super Bowl as of right now?
I could totally see Seahawks Patriots.
Really?
Little a rewind game from past years, but I think that's definitely a very possible thing. It would be cool to see the 49ers get there and play in San Fran. That would be sick for you, but also sick for, kind of just like a little history thing, even if they're playing the Patriots, which would, be obviously not a great thing for them. But I think it would be a very cool thing as it's being held in San Francisco this year.
I would absolutely adore if we got a Niners Patriots Super Bowl. I think that'd be the most fun, but also possibly the worst day ever if the Niners end up losing, because nothing is worse than when you lose to a New England team and then you have to hear about it for the next however long.
You'd hear it from me, don't worry.
Oh, I bet. See the Celtics Mavericks series. Like that's basically like that was my life for like a year, was just that over and over again from Celtics fans. So
especially living where you are too.
Yeah, like that's what I mean. Like it's just like it was rough. It was a rough playoff series. Dallas it's going to take some years for us to get back there, but yeah, I think that's a good bet. I like either the Patriots or the Bills versus the Niners would probably be my prediction. Again, I know I'm kind of going against what I said about the Patriots being like I'd be slightly surprised, but again, this is the NFL. Anything's possible. But if like my firm prediction would be Bills Niners, which is probably unrealistic, but that's kind of where I land right now. Carter, any closing thoughts before we wrap up?
Definitely for all the fans out there listening to this, enjoy watching the playoffs because it should be very exciting to watch.
Absolutely. And go follow Carter on his main account, carterjones.4 or something on Instagram.
Something like that, under Carter M. Jones _.
And then follow CJ Sports Wire. That's the big one. He's fast on ESPN. He's fast on ESPN. I'm telling you right now. He gives better analysis than Skip Bayless himself. But yeah, thank you all for watching. Don't forget to like, subscribe. If you're listening on Spotify, thank you. Not enough people listen on Spotify, so we're trying to push that one. But thank you for all the listeners and watchers at home, and we'll see you on the next podcast.